Guys, has anyone noticed how extremely audacious Beyoncé really is? Here are 3 career / entrepreneurial tips I took from, and you can also take from, Beyoncé's extremely audacious Renaissance tour. Okay. Before we start, I should probably set some context. I attended the very first, I think it was the first, or it might have been the second, London concert that Beyoncé did at the Hotspurs Stadium. So that is where I'm coming from. This is not just me observing all of like her tour videos. I was actually there. Yeah. Firstly, Audacity is genuinely the only way. Now, hear me out before you start side-eyeing me. I'm not referring to the Audacity that you're familiar with, the one that has a lot of negative connotations and is often perceived as like an insult. I'm not referring to that kind of Audacity, not the socially distorted kind. I'm actually talking about the real definition of audacity. So let's just take it back to basics. So Google defines audacity as showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. Keep that in mind. Now, taking it a step further and actually understanding the etymology of the word, it comes from the Latin term audacitas, which simply means bold. And another term I'm actually not too comfortable pronouncing. I think it's audio? Girl, I don't know. And this literally just translates, I am bold, I dare. It also has synonyms such as bold, fearless, daring, unflinching, etc. Now that the true definition of audacity has been presented to you, now you can probably understand that I'm not trying to offend Beyoncé in any way, or her amazing tour and her amazing shows that she's been doing. Now let's just get into why we need to be just as audacious as Beyoncé's Renaissance tour was. Now, you didn't actually have to be at the show to see that Beyoncé took the incredibly daring, fearless and bold move to literally fly across the stage on, I don't know how many feet high she was, but all I know is that I was in the Tottenham Hotspurs Stadium and she was flying across that incredibly high heights. And she did all of that just to say goodbye to us? Who else do you actually know would bid farewell in such a way? It was fearless, it was bold, and it was just honestly Beyoncé. So that's one of the observations I made. Beyoncé made the fearless and bold step to fly across the stage, literally like these strings, obviously they weren't strings, across the stage, which could have gone left so many times, so many different ways. But she took the bold, fearless, unflinching, ruthless step to actually do that. It actually soon occurred to me that Beyoncé has been audacious her whole career. From the beginning. From the start, she took unconventional, bold, daring, fearless risks that could have ended her career multiple times. From the actual disbanding of Destiny's Child and then embarking on her own solo career, to leaving her dad's management company and embarking on her own thing as well, to then actually releasing a whole album based on her husband's infidelity that she had no plans of leaving at that moment. If you ask me, that ticks bold, fearless and brave. Beyoncé probably cracked the code at a very early stage of her career that being audacious, being fearless, being bold, taking these unconventional risks actually work out for her each and every time. Being audacious for Beyoncé has essentially been a tried and tested, proven method across the board for her. So why wouldn't she do it this time at her tour? Why not adopt a tried and tested method yet again? At the point where Destiny's Child actually disbanded, Beyoncé already had racked up so much success, enough for a lifetime, most that no one in that industry would actually ever touch. But yet, she was so fearless, she was so bold, she was so all the synonyms of audacity, that she actually went ahead and embarked on her own solo career. When she left her dad's management company, what most people would do when they leave a management company, they'd go to another one that has been managing all these artists amazingly for decades, and you can see evidence of all of the greats who've been under this management company. No. Beyoncé actually went on to create her own management company and manage herself. How audacious is that? Instead of using all the other companies, management companies that she could go to, she said, nope, I'm gonna do this myself. How fearless and bold is that? The disbanding of Destiny's Child and embarking on her own career, that worked out. Leaving her father's management company and setting up her own, that worked out. and as audacious as releasing an album dedicated wholeheartedly with visuals, dedicated to her husband's infidelity, who she did not plan to leave. That worked out as well. And may I present the fact that not only did she dedicate this album to her husband's infidelity, she also ensured that it was only exclusively streamed on his streaming platform, Tidal, as well. You couldn't listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music at the time. It was only, it could only be streamed on Tidal. Beyoncé. Comfort really does foster stagnation. You can only really reach heights and levels thought unattainable by taking bold, fearless, daring risks. Take those bold leaps, those bold steps, those bold, really bold acts of faith. Being audacious in our pursuits of what we want is the only way to success. And to Beyoncé, that might look like backpacking her family of 5, embarking on a 4-month world tour with 3-hour energy-filled performances each and every night. But to you, that might actually just look like making that career change, innovating your business structures, or simply just starting. I feel like that's a good principle to live by. But when I think about a habit that we can kind of adopt in our daily lives 24/7, when we're presented with 2 options, one is bold, fearless, daring, audacious in itself, and the other is not, we should probably go for the audacious one. Let's use Beyoncé again as a case study and the concert that I observed, the one that I watched. Beyoncé was presented with 2 options. A, you can bid farewell to all your guests, to your audience, by simply going to the front of the stage and waving goodbye and telling them how much you love them, as most artists do, and as most fans appreciate more than anything. Or you can get strapped up, take this extremely bold, fearless, daring, risky risk to fly across Tottenham Hotspurs stadium and bid farewell in that way. Where of course you're harnessed in and they've done the checks and it's safe. If you're to weigh out the options, which one is safer? Going to the front of the stage with your 2 legs, with your 2 feet that are stabilized and waving goodbye, or flying across the stage where a mechanical error or any sort of error can lead to your demise. Out of fearlessness, Beyoncé actually took the latter option, all for excellence. And it was a smart move. People really walked out of that stadium saying, wow, what can't Beyoncé do? And I feel like that's just a lesson we can learn. When you're presented with 2 options, one's a bit risky and one's risk averse, you're probably gonna get higher returns if you go for the risky one. I'll just quickly add 2 very small things I picked up from Beyoncé leaving in that way as well, by bidding farewell, by flying across the stage. One, I love how much her thing is to provide and offer value and excellence in all of her shows. The second thing I'll add is her individuality and her ability to differentiate herself, I guess, from other artists, from her competition, by doing something like that. She didn't go for the basic route that other artists and other people within her, I guess, her industry and her market would do. She stepped out of that and said, what are other people not doing? How can I actually innovate this kind of process of saying goodbye to other people? Small things, huge impact. Tip number 2 that I learned: belief in self has to surpass others' belief in you. I started to think, how can you be that bold? And one of the things I thought of is that your self-belief has to be undoubtedly on 100%. In fact, you can only really be audacious if you have a huge amount of self-belief. If we were to take the term audacity and throw it in the social context as which we kind of know it today to be kind of like insulting, if you were to say to someone else, why do we call people audacious? Why do we say they've got a lot of audacity? They're very confident in themselves, whether they've said something that's arrogant or whatever it is. A prime example, he had a lot of audacity to come to me and say da 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 da. Essentially, he was very confident. He had a lot of confidence in self to be able to come up to you and offend you or do whatever it is. But the bottom line here is audacity in the term in its actual origins, and audacity, the one we know it to be like a bit of an offensive thing to say to someone. The bottom line is, and the fundamental idea is that these people are confident. They have an extremely high sense of self-belief. And if you're meant to be audacious in your career moves, in your entrepreneurial pursuits, how can you be, let's say, bold, daring, fearless, unflinching, without having huge self-belief, confidence, ultimate confidence in your own abilities to get yourself there. In order for Beyonce to make those bold moves that I listed, for example, embarking on her own solo career, let's take that example, right? How could she have ever done that if she did not have the self-belief within her that she could be able to do it? If she didn't have the self-belief or the confidence in her abilities, in her vocals, in her performance ability, in all these different things, her dancing, her business acumen, how would she have been able to make that bold move to embark on a solo career, leave her father's management company, drop that crazy album without saying, you know what, I believe in my skills. I believe this much in my skills that whatever I do now, whatever step I'm gonna take, we're gonna get there and we're gonna be successful in it. There would have not been enough, you can do it, I believe in you, you've got this. There would not have been enough of those text messages or phone calls. Should have had to really believe deep down that she could do it and she would do it. There had to be an unflinching level of confidence within her. Something that said, not only can I do this, but I can do this 10 times better. And lo and behold, she did. Imagine when she first confided in a friend and she told them that, hey, you know, when Jay-Z cheated on me and we had that huge scandal with Becky with the good hair, yeah, I'm gonna make an album on it, I'm gonna release it, and it's gonna be exclusively streamed on my cheating husband's streaming platform. They would have thought she was crazy. She would have had to believe so much in her business acumen that this was a good move for her career. Now, in this kind of situation, it wasn't about her vocals, it wasn't about anything else. She's already got that on lock. This was now a business move. Is this gonna make sense? Is this gonna be the downfall of my career, or is it not? Is this gonna be a really good marketing opportunity for my husband's streaming platform, Tidal, or is it not? It got people going crazy. It got people, everyone who wanted to find out what happened with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Oh my gosh, he cheated. Who is Becky with the good hair? It got everyone in one direction to that streaming platform. Ultimately, making such a bold and daring risk, she had to believe so much in her business acumen that it would pay off. And it did. Very quickly, let's just go back to when she left her father's management company. Can you imagine what the people around her were saying? You can imagine people around her saying, okay, Beyonce, we got it when you embarked on your solo career. You're basically like the main character in Destiny's Child anyway, so it makes sense. But now, leaving that management company that genuinely observed your success from when you were young, being in Destiny's Child, your own solo career, and they could have said stuff like, if you're gonna leave, fine, let's go find another management company that has helped millions of other artists reach the top and has been really good in managing their careers. Beyonce still said no. Beyonce would have still just kept saying no, I'm gonna do this by myself. I know I'm the artist, but I know I can also be the manager of my own career as well. Can you imagine what her father thought? There was also another dynamic to this relationship. It wasn't just a business relationship. There was a family relationship there as well. That was her genuine dad. Can we just imagine for a second how it would have been in that moment of her trying to make that decision? A lot of questions, a lot of disagreements with what she was doing. But still, Beyonce said, this is what I'm gonna do because I believe in myself. Moral of the story, you cannot be audacious without an unflinching level of self-belief first. The synonyms that we discussed earlier of audacity and being audacious, they all require one to actually be very confident in their own abilities. The synonyms we looked at were bold, daring, unflinching, brave. How can you be brave if you don't believe in yourself? You can only embark on a successful career entrepreneurial pursuit if you have an unflinching level of belief in your own abilities, in your own character, in your own skills and talents to get yourself there. So when I started to think about, okay, how can I adopt some habits that I can implement in my life every single day based off of this really enlightening, I guess, principle, I started to think, well, I guess there is an onus on all of us to dig deep within ourselves and find out, do we actually believe in ourselves? If we don't, that's a really healthy and a really good observation that we've made. We don't believe in ourselves. Okay, cool. Now, why is that? How far can we dig real deep and find out why that is and start dealing with those issues so we can really believe in our abilities and then start the process of being audacious? So let's just have a think about why we don't believe in ourselves, because why wouldn't we? And let's do the work. And I feel like that's a really helpful and healthy habit to just keep thinking about, like, daily. Like, okay, how can I break this down? I've understood what the problem is. How can I break this down every day? What can I tell myself? What can I read? What does the Bible say about me? Just a whole host of things. But I think that's just a healthy place to start. Tip number 3. Now this one has to be one of my favorite ones. It's one, especially in our culture today, in the height and the messiness of toxic hustle culture and all those sorts of things, is one that is kind of frowned upon, but has to be definitely one of my favorites. So without further ado, tip number 3 is that you will break a sweat. Beyonce's documentaries never ever shy away from showing us, from telling us, literally showing us through recordings throughout the process of how hard she works and how many sweats she just has to break. There is so much effort that goes into her tours, and the Renaissance tour is obviously no different. The 24/7 rehearsals, creating new riffs and melodies, going on very unconventional, borderline, no, it's not borderline, it's just dangerous diets, and then actually conducting the tour. There is so much hard work that goes into it. Blood, sweat and tears to perform something or to produce something in the end that is magnificently beautiful. To be successful in your career / business or whatever it is, you will break a sweat. That can look like working late nights, receiving more application rejections than you anticipated, pushing yourself the extra mile every single day just to get 1% better, dealing with difficult clients and having to put out fires all the time, pursuing perhaps another accreditation, and just sometimes just literally showing up. So when I think about habits and habit formation in our actual day-to-day lives, I start to think about the challenges, I guess, throughout the day that just inevitably present themselves to us. We have to tackle them head on. It reminds me also of a book authored by Brian Tracy that is called Eat That Frog, and it essentially just encourages people to do the hardest, most difficult task first in the day. Get it out the way. If you eat a frog first thing in the morning, there's nothing else worse that you can do. Some other people interpret it from other myths. If you don't eat the frog, then the frog will eat you later in the day. We have to essentially fall in love with difficulty. At times when you really don't want to do something, tell yourself, okay, cool, I know that this means I really have to do it. Let's snap out of it and actually do the work. So essentially just getting through the hard, doing the difficult things. After, it does feel nice. At the start it may not, but after it will, and it always pays off. Just like Beyoncé, you have to push through the hard. You have to push through the final leg. The masters and geniuses and the heroes of civilization all lived hard lives. They trained tough. They played through pain. They pushed their potential fiercely. They were ambitious, ceaseless, and ferocious when it came to the complete capitalization of their grandest potential. In fact, the Latin root of the word passion means to suffer. These women and men suffered for their visions, ideals, and aspirations. They suffered for the increase of their skill and sacrificed for the realization of their prowess. They endured enormous anguish as they advanced their crafts and abandoned their temptations. And I must tell you, these illustrious performers also suffered for the state of the world. Playing small with your promise demotes our world, because the planet becomes a poorer place without your greatness in it. That's one of my favorite quotes from the 5 a.m. Club. And it just does remind me that hard work is required to see whatever it is that you want through. We have to push through the hard. We just have to get through the hard, and there's no other way about it. And it also reminds me of the idea, like, if you're in a very difficult situation, if you're in the dark, why would you stay there? Isn't the aim to have a bit more ease in life? So why don't you just push through, push past that, and then be on the other side where there is actually light? So yeah, I know this idea and I know this perspective isn't really taken in a positive light a lot of the time anymore because of other things regarding hustle culture and the toxicity that comes with that. And I'm not saying that I subscribe to hustle culture, but there are a lot of elements that I do appreciate, that I do adopt in my daily life, and I do essentially agree on. And I think definitely pushing through the hard is one of them. And the last tip is getting help helps. Yes, you can try and dictate your career progression and your career plans by yourself, and you can start a company alone. However, there will come a time at some point in your pursuit that you will have to acquire the help and the assistance from someone else. If you're in your own company, you will at some point need to outsource, and I've had to do that several times, and I'm so grateful that I did. And that's something that I learned 2 years ago at age 22, and it's still serving me right now at age 24. Undoubtedly one of the best things you can do, at least when cash flow permits anyway. It really does allow you to scale up businesses. It frees time off your hands as well to do what you want to do, to deal with the back end of the business. There are so many opportunities, and there are so many reasons as to why outsourcing and acquiring help helps, and I'll probably do another video on that. But for now, that's the main idea. Even in your career dreams and your career plans, getting help from people on LinkedIn and messaging people that are in the position that you want to be in at some point, messaging them, watching their videos, consuming their content, really does help. And those are all forms of acquiring help. We wouldn't even be able to count on our hands the amount of help Beyoncé has to be Beyoncé. If you were at her concert, did you see how many people were running across stage with her? From her videographers to her photographers to her, just everything. It was wild to see that much help. When we think about Beyoncé's team and the people that help her be Beyoncé, her glam team, her chefs, her security, her childminders, that are actually rumoured, apparently her nannies are rumoured to be somewhere from like 8 to 9 nannies, her film crew, her finance team, and everything in between. Beyoncé would have not been able to attain Beyoncé's success without the help around her. And a habit that I think about that we can do day to day, honestly, ask for help when you need it. Whether you need it emotionally, whether you need it physically, whether you need it in terms of your business, whatever it is, go on Fiverr, get some help. There are millions of people there willing to help at a cheap price. Upwork is the same. People Per Hour is another website. LinkedIn is an amazing place to network with industry professionals that are in the position that you want to be in. I've spoke with so many people on LinkedIn. Honestly, just get help where you need it. There are so many reasons why, from mental health to adding more money into your bank account. So many reasons as to why getting help from an early stage when you need it really does help. Audacity, self-belief, pushing through the hard, and acquiring help are just a few of the very many ingredients to Beyoncé's success that we can learn from right now. It's obviously not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to do these things that I've listed. And of course, there were several social factors, so many influencing social factors that gave Beyoncé the unparalleled opportunity to become who she became. However, it is nice to see that some of the principles that she adopts can easily be adopted by us as well and applied to our everyday lives. So guys, I did not think attending a Beyoncé concert would teach me so much, so many valuable lessons about success. But I guess that's the whole essence of Beyoncé. You just never really know what you're gonna get with her. Whether it's her dangling across you as she flies across a football stadium, or taking home some career and entrepreneurial tips, you just never know what you're gonna get with Beyoncé. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it's helped you, I hope it's been inspiring, and I hope you subscribe. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it really does. You didn't really. Comfort really does foster stagnation. Yeah. Comfort really does foster stagnation. Comfort really does. Comfort really does. Comfort really does foster stagnation.